Hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to a very special 0 hour stream actually, because this is going to be the expert interview for, well, obviously our brand new expert, which is Marakar. So just to give you a rough idea, or for those that aren't really familiar, what that means. So when you've been made an expert on GameReplays, which is a site where we obviously do all the tournaments and something that you can always get a link to via my by pretty much all my videos. Yeah, if you're an expert on there's not too many of them, but it kind of means a few things. Like, for example, you're part of an elite club. I mean, just to give you a rough idea, Marakar is now the 20th, I believe, the 20th expert to be promoted to the ZH expert, or to have earned the badge. So, considering how long the game's been around for, around only one a year, so pretty special accolade in that regard. So it's somewhat prestigious. Then there's also some of the experts get access to a special little forum that's not for us peasants. And then occasionally might come across the odd. There's the odd downside. When you're an expert, you more or less have a reputation. You're probably not going to get into certain tournaments. Say goodbye to semi-tournaments or anything that involves that too heavily. And yeah, just in general, a bit more fame, bit more glory, bit more feared as well. I think it's fair to say. So yeah. But anyway, that's the rough ready of it. I think at this point, let's just get Marakar straight on in. So I'm just going to call him now very quickly. And hopefully he'll be with us in a second. Otherwise that'll be an awkward delay. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good.
Excellent. All right. Well, welcome to the my first ever attempt, probably my first ever interview of doing anyone actually, and no big deal. It's just Marakar's expert interview. It's all good. So, yeah, I'm glad you're doing well. Fly just went into my room. Perfect timing.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've seen sort of like Domi a while ago did like the Fargo interview, or did the Boyka interview. I think I can't remember who did the Vivid one. I don't know if you're vaguely familiar with any of that or not.
I think Domi also did the Vivid one.
Did Domi do the Vivid one? Oh, that's interesting, because I did search for that and I couldn't find it. Not that I'm trying to copy him or anything. You wouldn't think I was. But yeah, no. So basically, what I figured we'd do is I'll just have a sort of replay in the background, because I think that sort of that format proves pretty popular. Seems to make sense. So yeah, I've already loaded one up in the background. So what I'm actually going to do is I might as well just share my screen with you. I'm going to share my game specifically. Stream without sound. Oh, you don't need sound, do you, to be honest? So I can just exclude that. That's fine. And hopefully you'll be able to see it in a second.
Ooh, I know this game.
You know this game. There we go. See, look at that for instant recognition.
Yeah.
Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpause that, and let's just click on you, and let's spectate you, and then I don't have to really do anything with that. That's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, first and foremost, and most importantly, congratulations on becoming our latest expert. I was just explaining a second ago that I think we're about 20 experts now, so it's kind of a cool milestone.
Oh, so I'm the 20th expert.
Yeah, I know, that's my understanding, or at least I think that's what Nickname told me. So if it's wrong, blame him. Don't blame me.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, what was I going to say? So we've covered everything off, as you can tell. Right, so interview time. That would be like the most important thing. What I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to take my cursor lock off so I can actually float onto my little Word document that I've got. So, because obviously, I've done some kind of prep for this. I'm not just going to wing it. I'll try my best. So yeah, first and foremost, Mr. Marakar, tell us about the man behind the nickname. What do you do in life, where you're from, things, whatever you might really want to say, whatever you're comfortable sharing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm Marakar. Like, my actual name is Amr, but yeah, I'm from Egypt, but I grew up in Doha in Qatar. I'm currently 21 years old, and I actually have my 22nd birthday coming up in a couple months.
Excellent.
But yeah, I study medicine, like
Wow.
as my sort of degree.
That is fair play. That's pretty impressive. You know, I think there was someone put something through recently about who does the most things, and someone was saying about my maths degree, and I was like, pretty sure people do more impressive stuff than that. And there's a
I
fine
don't do
example.
medicine for like pride or whatever. I
Oh
do
no,
medicine because I enjoy it.
no, that's fantastic. Fair play. I think
Yeah.
regardless of what the motive is, it's still very impressive. So yeah, very nice, very nice. Um,
But but yeah, like I've been in Doha for like most of my life, so like I'm studying in the country that I grew up in, and ZR was one of my childhood games, so I played Skirmish since maybe I want to say 2007 essentially,
okay.
like on a shared family laptop.
Very nice, very nice.
And
It's perfect that you're basically giving me exactly the next question anyway. So this is perfect. You just know my questions, the history of Marakar. So yeah, no, carry on. This is good. This is good.
yeah, so like I started playing Zero Hour on like a family laptop that was shared between my brother and I mainly, and like every now and then like I'd have periods of time where I just like crank out a bunch of hours on Zero Hour, and
Mm,
just because it was a game I enjoyed. And I think it was until 2015 I want to say that I discovered online still existed.
yeah, very
And
nice.
once I learned about that, I tried my very hardest to set up my computer so it could go for online play. Initially through ZR mods,
Yeah,
but I also learned how to set up online play for vanilla Zero Hour as well, and ever since then I just enjoyed it. I think my last lull period was probably 2015, 2016,
okay.
and then once I got back into it, I want to say like 20 2020.
Yeah, do you know funny that actually? Because I remember coming across a guy called Marakar once around, and I'm gonna say it was around 2020 because I think I came across you on. I want to say it was Revora first when you originally came back. Is that right? Am I
Yeah.
more? Yeah. So I remember coming across you and thinking, oh, who is this guy? I'm sure. And then I just could never, no joke, I could never beat you. And bearing in mind that was before anyone else sort of in this more recent era sort of knew who you were. So I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute, this guy's really good. Like, where's he gonna end up? And well, here we are today.
I mean, to be fair, I think when I was playing like a couple years ago, so I think I actually met Vivid online through Revora that way too.
Yeah,
Like I remember before Vivid got his expert badge, like he was killing it on the Revora ladder, like
yeah.
consistently.
It
Like he
was
was every time I played against him, it was like very tough games usually.
again another coincidence because he was another one who I hadn't really. Yes. So what I just said about how I sort of came across you for the first time, the exact same thing happened. Funnily enough, with Vivid. And then I think it was a long time ago, like Keys, when he was around, called Vivid to be an expert long ago, and he was right about that. So yeah, here we are today. It's kind of funny, really. Like you probably wouldn't have thought back then. Now here we are, but crazy how the world goes sometimes.
Yeah, it was it's nice to have a callback to the past.
Absolutely. Um, so I suppose that's good to know. Now, thank you. What about your life? You know, only very briefly. What about your life, obviously beyond ZH and I don't know medicine? Is there anything else that keeps you busy? I mean, to be honest, I guess the answer could easily just be it's just that.
I mean, like you're studying medicine, like there
Yeah.
isn't too much that can
No.
go on in my life. Like um my life is a lot of my life is studying for the most part, but like it's studying I enjoy, so it's not like I have an issue with it or whatnot.
Excellent.
Um I wanna say like I mean as of late, Zero Hour has been something that I've really been keeping up with. Before I really got active with Zero Hour again, I used to be there are various like games that I was interested in the past. So like
Yeah.
in the past, I was actually playing for a Highlander Team Fortress 2 team. I'm not sure if you know
Oh.
about Team Fortress 2, but I used to
I've
play.
I've heard of it, but admittedly, yeah, not too much. But that's okay. That's nice. Yeah, carry on.
And then I think after I passed over that period, I remembered playing a lot of Dota 2, like
Ah,
for a good period of time. But I stopped playing Dota for a while now at this point.
Very nice. No, I've definitely heard of that one before. Oh, excellent. That makes sense. I was going to say, I think I remember once sort of casually mentioning to you, oh yeah, I was just watching a football match, and I could just tell you, like, it was like, there are people in life, you're either a football person or not. So and there's no harm either way, of course. But yeah, I think, like you say, when you do medicine and when you're already doing those sort of things, it's pretty much impossible to do everything. So, like, there's only so much time we all have, right?
Exactly, and I enjoy what I do, so I
And
don't
that is
mind.
all that
That.
matters.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay, no, nice. So I suppose an obvious question as well is, what are your obviously as you move on in future, the medicine stuff you're studying at the minute. Presumably that might take more. Is it a case of in the future as you maybe go into work more and more as well that your time for 0 hour will be restricted? How 0 hour proof is your future? Is I suppose the question I'm asking here.
I mean, the way I see it is that like at some point, like I'm I don't see myself playing like 0 hour forever.
Yeah,
Like I think that's just like it's just impractical to think that way where like things last permanently.
agreed.
So like with the time I have now, like I'm just enjoying 0 hour like and just enjoying the game I'm playing now. Like I think it's important to be a little bit in the present when it comes to like
Living in the moment, right?
yeah, like I'm not gonna be thinking like, oh, in 10 years time, I need to like
I
secure my title in like 0 hour or
love
whatnot. Like
it.
I don't think that long term or whatever. Like if I'm playing a game, I'm playing it to enjoy it at the end of the day. And
Of course, first and foremost, right?
yeah, and I think I mean to answer your question, like I honestly don't know. Like I don't know what the future holds for me in 0 hour. Like
Nothing wrong with that
may-
answer.
maybe I'll stop playing in 1 month. Maybe I'll continue playing for a couple of years. Like who knows? Like
Yeah.
anything can happen at the end of the day. But all I know is that like the time I am playing it still, like I'm enjoying it like every bit of it. Like I'm not trying to like force myself to play the game
Yeah.
out of some like
Need.
necessity. Like I'm playing because I want to play 0 hour, not because I feel obligated to.
And that's the most important thing. Like, I suppose you don't ever want it to become like a chore because then it would literally defeat the point of a game, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. No, that sounds like exactly the attitude you want to have, and pretty much sort of how I approach it as well. But and really probably how most people should. But it depends on how much time everyone's different at the end of the day. So no, that's good to hear. Um, So obviously, I had a couple of. I've got like a big list of questions, and actually we've already covered a couple of them. Like for example, a timeline of when you start. One thing I do want to very quickly touch on, and I won't touch too much on it, is you're well known in the modding community as well. So let's just cover that off like very quickly. When were you sort of most active doing that, and what was the main mod that you played?
Okay, so when I was this is kind of harkening back to when I was talking about how I discovered online playthrough mods first in 2015. So
Okay.
I was watching the streamer for a mod called Rise of the Reds, and
Yeah.
like I was fascinated by two things. Number one, that like 0 hour online play was still a thing, and number
Mhm.
two, like the mod just looked so well polished.
Yeah.
Like given the fact that I know 0 hour is like a 2005 game, that
So
I
long.
was like,
This is so old now. It's like 2004, whatever it is. It's crazy old.
like I saw that and I was like, wow, like I honestly gotta try that. And I think the online network they used at the time was called SWRnet.
Okay.
And I set that up and I was installing the mod and all that. And I actually did quite well initially. Like, it's not like, and it's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
I had zero online play and I was actually doing quite well for myself, given the fact that I had zero online play.
That you had
And
no
I think that,
experience of that environment, right?
yeah, and I think that's partially because like prior to actually playing online, I was watching a lot of 0 hour like casts and stuff. I think particularly from the General's Gentleman.
Ah, of course, yes.
A- And when I was watching those casts, I would like pick up on these like small intricacies, and I think just I've seen so many of those like uh micro plays and sort of the small techniques used that I tried to just emulate some, and like just by like exposure, like I kind of knew like how to do certain things here and there.
Got it.
Because there is some overlap between the base game and the mod. It's in terms of like how you play. Obviously, it's not one to one, but
Yeah.
like there are certain aspects that
Okay.
are similar.
Excellent.
And when I was learning about like the intricacies of the mod specifically, I think it got to a point where like in the span of like I want to say a year, like I
Hmm.
basically got what was essentially the title of like one of, if not like the best like modded player like in existence.
Nice.
Like
No, it's not bad.
yeah, and I mean I tried out other mods too. Like Contra is another mod that I particularly liked, and when I got good at Contra,
Hmm.
uh, same story there. Like initially started out like learning stuff, but like I still did pretty well considering the fact I was in the learning phase, and
Yep.
eventually I became one of, if not the best player in that mod too.
Excellent. Do you know it's interesting because I've never I don't know why I've never really had the appetite to try one of the mods myself, and there's no specific reason for that whatsoever, and I couldn't even begin to tell why. I don't know. I think it's just because I was just satisfied, playing the game. Like you obviously gave a reason for why you started, and I think at the end of the day, if you never start, you don't really know, right? So I think,
I mean,
yeah.
I think a lot of people like sort of share that same sort of belief with mods, and I think some of it probably stems from the fact that like it's very different, like in some
Mm,
regards from Zero Hour, and like maybe for some people that takes away the thing they like about Zero Hour, which
yeah,
is like the sort of legacy aspect of it.
agreed.
Although I will say, like, it's definitely like satiated my like legacy appetite as well. Like, it's
Mm,
not something that like some mods they actually do quite a good job at like preserving certain legacy aspects while also like introducing completely new mechanics that like I think are like genuinely cool. I think for example, probably one of my favorite mechanics is basically it's a recycling mechanic from Rise of the Reds for GLA where they
yeah.
essentially, since units are split into tiers, so like if you'd say there's tiers 1 and tier 2 where tier
Mm.
1 is without like proper strat center
Fine, fine,
and
yeah, a bit like an
yeah,
Overlord's tier 2 unit, right?
yeah. Yeah, there's like actually three tech systems. So there's tier
Oh,
1, tier 2, and tier 3. And like you basically have a second version of a prop center and like second version of a strat center or
got
whatnot.
it. Okay, that's pretty
And
cool.
units from those tiers, when you're fighting as GLA, they'll drop like tier specific salvage. So like it's not just regular salvage. They'll
Right.
drop like tier specific salvage. And if you kill that unit and like you essentially have a button where like you go over the salvage pile and you recycle it,
Yep.
you can actually get like basically handcrafted modified GLA units. So for example, if you kill a dragon tank, you can actually get like a flamethrower turret on top of like that
Right, and
sort of
that's where the
salvage.
crazy stuff comes from. I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
How
Like
interesting.
that's a really cool mechanic in my opinion. And
It
like
is actually that is quite fun. I have to admit that sounds like it could be a barrel of laughs.
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh well, there
I
you are
mean
then.
like the mods and like it's the thing is with the mods is that they're not exactly like very like some mods are very different from one another. Like
Hmm.
if you compare like Contra and like Rise of the Reds, for example, like that's apples and oranges. Like these are
Yeah.
two completely different mods that achieve completely different purposes. And like
Interesting.
they add new factions and new units, and it's pretty cool. I honestly
Yeah.
recommend anyone to like try out mods at some point because it is a fun experience.
Okay.
I
No.
will say that.
Excellent. I think that's good to know. I think, do you know what I guess the one thing that stopped me, and now that I've obviously in hindsight, I guess it's I mean I barely have enough time to play as much Zero Hour as I'd like at times, and I guess that's kind of like for me personally the key constraint. But there's going to be people out there that don't necessarily have that constraint, and I think for those people that's a fair message. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Excellent. Okay. No. Good. Right then, how do we go next? So let's say we've obviously covered that. We've also covered about games outside the ZH universe. All right, here's a question for you. And again, you don't have to say anything on this. What have you managed to work out roughly since you've been sort of playing Zero and you've been on the competitive scene? There has obviously been this sort of sponsored scene as well. How much do you reckon you've accumulated in your in your 0 hour career to date? Like roughly, or not at all, to be fair.
I actually can pull up the exact number because I've never spent any money I earned from Zero.
Oh
Like
wow,
I'm not
really?
even kidding. Yeah, I have it all saved in one account. Like I've never actually spent it yet.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Let me just pull it up real quick because
Ah,
I
that's
I
awesome.
have the number. I
Oh,
have the number.
that's really cool. I did not expect that level of. That's really good. I
Uh,
reckon I could probably guess. Mine is probably like 100 and 200, maybe 300. But then again, take away the amount I've probably in my case. Obviously, it's peanuts compared to what I've put into it. But that's not my.
oh, I have way more than 100. I could say
Oh,
that much.
okay, I'd hope so.
Like just give me a minute. Like
Yeah.
I'll
That's all right. Hey,
let me open my PayPal just so I can actually figure this out.
nice. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, again, you don't have to don't have to do anything precise, but it's always interesting. An interesting question, like how long we've been going for now. It's only been less than 2 years that you've been
Sure.
arguably active for.
I got the actual number.
Go on then. Go on then.
So it
Surprise us.
is $1,416. I
Wow.
think that's 16 cents on
Yep.
top of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's not a bad figure considering the time you've been around for.
Yeah, and
Very cool.
considering essentially just me playing a game I enjoy, I think pretty that's pretty epic for the most part.
100%. Yes, it is actually. Yeah, that is actually pretty awesome. Now, really, fair play. That's pretty cool. And I was actually then going to ask how you've invested it, but we already have the answer. You've been saving it, man. That's nice.
Yeah, I've been saving it because like honestly like I don't see myself having to like spend this money because it is like
Hmm.
a good amount of like personal money to like keep in the bank and yeah,
Absolutely.
I think just keeping it on the side for now is like
Very
the
wise.
best thing I can do.
Very wise indeed. I think also when you're sort of pursuing a career in medicine, chances are there's a good chance that money won't be the greatest issue in your life. So I mean, not that that's the reason you'd ever do it, but at the same time, it does the high that type of thing does tend to correlate with half decent paying jobs. It's as a little bonus. It's obviously very nice.
Yeah.
No, excellent.
Oh, you're at the point in the replay where it's like the game defining moment. Yeah,
Oh, this I had
this
a
was like
feeling.
the
Yeah,
luxury moment.
this. Do you know what? Now that I think about it, I feel like I actually remember now because you've said that. I feel like I actually do remember watching this. It was on Xcal's channel if I'm not mistaken.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was.
I think this was actually my very first set against Size, by the way, as well.
Yes, that was it, and I think that was something that was particularly noteworthy. Was it a decider?
This was the decider, yes.
That scud is epic, man. It's really nice. Uh,
Yeah.
no, awesome. Okay, so how about what was I going to say next? Let me just double check where I was. How would you? All right, okay. Here's a question for you. How would you describe your own playing style?
I mean, that's a very tough question because I do
Hmm.
like mixing it up a lot. Like, when I started playing, I actually used to be like quite a greedy player. Like, I would go for oil builds a lot.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, I just kind of do a bit of everything, and I think this is something that Xgal's commented on, and I think multiple experts have commented on, where it's like I don't really have like a definitive like playstyle. Like I have comfort playstyles that
Yeah.
I like I like playstyles centered around either like high money situations or like playstyles where like you can kind of I like either two situations, like high intensity situations
Yeah.
outside of like no eco and that sort of thing. So like imagine like you're in like some all-in game with China. Or I like situations where like you have a lot of money to spend and like you have to be very creative with like how you spend that money. Because
Sure.
I think if there's one aspect of my play I think a lot of people would describe it as, it's probably creative. Because I
Yeah,
think I
that's
do a
probably
lot
fair
of things
actually.
that like I think there's a lot of things I do that like you really don't see like very often in terms
Hmm.
of like standard play. and I think that typically throws off a lot of people. And
Well,
that's partially because of
yeah.
like my background.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And do you know, I think we saw evidence of that in this game because earlier I saw you bomb truck like 4 or 5 buggies. Who the hell does that?
yeah, I mean, it's not even the fact of the bomb truck. Like in this situation, like you would think like, if we were talking about this game specifically, you would
Hmm.
think like, okay, like size is like extremely far ahead because he
Yeah.
has so much like production and map control. And then I do something where like I don't think anyone anticipated, which is just kill the production buildings like
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, and it
Like
worked.
yeah, like in this situation you would think, okay, I have to like kill markets and stuff to win. But like
Hmm.
I think I try to think of situations of like how do you win a
Yeah.
game? And sometimes it's not exactly like the most intuitive thing. Like I'll give like an example for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Like I even I played a set with Excal today, like in the China Mirror tourney.
You did, yeah. That was I watched it. It was actually pretty good. Uh,
And there were some games where like I completely like read what Excal was gonna do, and I just basically completely 100% counter builded him. Like
and the first game was probably a perfect example of that actually.
yeah, like he picked China against like my nuke on Oil Rampage.
Yeah.
Like I literally like it screamed in my head like, okay, this is like Helix all in. So
Hmm.
like I did basically the best thing I could have done, which is like I put Gats behind oils for like cover. I revved them up preemptively, and when the
Yeah.
Lixes actually came, I just started attacking and like I saved my dozer, I saved my ore factory, and it's game over from there.
It was over. Yeah, I was going to say as openers go, it was pretty quick, and actually that was yeah, like you say, a pretty nice result. And I think you actually because you had anticipated that so well, I think in the equivalent reverse, which was on make, I want to say,
Yeah,
you obviously did. You basically ended up doing the same tactic, but it proved more effective compared to Oil Rampage. So you had, and obviously maybe XCal didn't quite anticipate it quite as well, and on that occasion, so yeah, it was a pretty
I think he anticipated it, but the problem was just that it's such an annoying strategy to
hmm,
deal with that like if you're not proficient enough to deal with the strategy, like you can know something's coming, but you might not be proficient at stopping it.
true.
Like if, like he knows it's coming 100%, but like it's very difficult to like stop it if you don't have a like flowchart strategy in mind that counter builds it. Is
Fair
the
point.
best way to
Yeah, no,
describe
I
it.
think that's a fair point. Probably a tiny bit easier to deal with it on Aura Rampage compared to Make. I think where Make is quite like it's almost like a squarey map, so your elixrs have more free ground to run in. Whereas I suppose with Aura Rampage, it's very thin. It's quite narrow. Like when the elixir's in your base, it's in your base, and there's not really
Yeah,
many other places it can go. Right.
yeah, and that sort of map comparison actually plays into sort of the playstyles thing that you were asking about earlier. So
Mm,
like on some maps, like usually my maps that I pick are things that people are either very uncomfortable playing on, so maps they're not familiar with, or it's like maps that I'm just extremely proficient on. So like Oil Rampage, I think is probably one of, if not like my best map that I play on,
yeah.
aside from like maybe I don't know, like Stonehenge. Like
Okay.
I think those two maps in particular, like I like excel at.
I have copied you with one thing you do actually, and in terms of the build order, I did notice, and I think it's a China's admittedly, you have dual red guard, and you should send like one of the red guard literally to go capture the furthest away one in their own base, and I was like, that's actually a pretty sneaky idea. I mean, it's worth a try.
I mean, versus some players it works, versus some it doesn't. Like
Of course, yeah. There's only so many you
yeah,
can get away with it.
yeah, yeah. Like I do it versus some experts, but not all. Like I know versus some experts, they do actually pay very close attention to like base oils and stuff. But
Yeah,
some experts, they're more focused on like harass and stuff. And
absolutely.
yeah, like I sort of, I think the reason it is very difficult to sort of pinpoint what my exact playstyle is because my playstyle is very fluid in the sense that it really depends on
Hmm.
who I'm playing against.
Which is the probably everyone's worst nightmare, and to be honest with you, is no doubt a driving influence in where you are today, actually. And here we are, you know, doing your doing your expert interview, and probably a key factor for sure.
Hmm.
Now I've got a second replay actually. I stole this 3v3 from I don't know, it was like August time. It looked pretty tasty. So let's select your your viewpoint
Yeah,
on
I'll
this, I
recognize
say.
it. Let
Let's
me see.
see. That is.
Oh, this is. Oh, I think I know. Yeah, I know this
Yeah.
game.
You
This
uploaded
is
it, that's why.
a. This was a very like long 3v3. I remember that much. This was a
Nice.
long match, and this got like to the point where it essentially boiled down to like a 2v3 for like a solid 40 minutes, but like it
Hmm.
was an insanely difficult game to like win because I think I was the I was simultaneously the first one to almost die,
Yeah.
and yet I was the one that I think was I was one of the key factors in this game, I think, as well.
Very nice. Very nice. I think.
Like I
Go on, carry on.
yeah, I was gonna say like you'll see like I almost die in like the first couple minutes of this game, but like as this
Hmm.
game drags out, like it goes to like drop zones, and I think it even goes to like a particle cannon at one point.
Nice.
So
Nice.
like
I
it's
was,
one of those games where like I was literally about to die, but I didn't die, and suddenly I have like insane impact in the game.
yeah, love. Yeah, okay, I know exactly the type. I think that can happen sometimes, and they're always quite cool. But I've also just
Mhm.
noticed. So I was just having a little giggle because I noticed that Ammo and Xcal are on the same team, so I thought that was quite funny.
Oh yeah, this is in August. This is
Yeah,
very old.
I was going to say old enough for that to happen. Cool. Okay. Well, what about let's see. Talk us very briefly about I don't know, like your OOE times and what you've how you've made of that and how it's been playing with the Spaldings, the X Gals, all those sort of guys.
And it's been very interesting for the most part. Like I'd say around the time that I was really starting to like play phenomenally well against like experts,
Hmm.
I think is when I got like invitation request about it.
Yeah.
And when I got invited, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I don't mind. Like, I don't see a reason not to join. Like, it's fun, and maybe I can learn more as a result. And
Yeah.
I'll definitely say like I have learned quite a bit more, and it's actually nice because I end up in a lot of discussions uh with uh with Spalding and like Excal about
Hmm.
like different types of tactics and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see like the clash of different perspectives. And sometimes we'll agree one to one, sometimes we'll have disagreements, but like we'll both provide like pretty good arguments and stuff
Yeah.
in terms of like why this is good, why this is not good. Oh yeah, you can see in this game like my
Hmm.
base is getting
I was
run
gonna
over.
say, yeah, there's not much to it right now, but you're doing what you can
Yeah.
with the racks in the space. It's good. It's a
hmm
fun watch so far.
I
Um,
think
go
I
on.
think what you call Goatsy is actually hunted in this as well, so
Ah, fine,
which is
okay.
why this is working out,
Oh, and
whereas I'm
you're
not.
not. There you go. There's the sneaky little dope. You see, by this point, you've been practiced enough by Xscal probably to just about know. Oh, he's going to hunt me, so I better hide a dozer.
Mhm.
uh,
I mean, to be fair, I think when I started out 3v3 challenges, I was very, very much like newbie at them, but like eventually, I don't think I'm like any like top tier team game player, but I still like, I think I have a good grasp on them for the most part, to
yeah,
where
no,
I can still play
that's
them.
fair. I mean, and also you learn them extremely quickly. But yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good. I think like no one's going to be absolutely perfect in all game modes. Obviously, they many there's people out there that say obviously, to be an expert you've got to be good at all. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like there's going to be ones. Look at Fargo. He doesn't exactly play loads and loads of 2v2s and 3v3s. Got the expert badge. It's not a requirement. It's really the requirement is are you good? Are you an expert? Right? It's a fluid definition.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you ask as to what's the definition of an expert at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and the answer is there isn't one. So other than they're good at zero, I like that definition. It works well for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Uh,
I think people get hung up on the idea of like, oh, you must be like good at X, Y, Z in order to be a zero hour expert. Like at the end of the day, it's like it's not exactly a an objective
Agreed.
sort of criteria. Like there are objective elements, but it's not
Hmm.
like you can say like, oh yeah, like you need to have clocked in approximately 1,000 hours in
Yeah,
0 hour. Like,
yeah,
no, that's
yeah.
not how it works.
Completely agreed. Yeah, there's objective elements, but ultimately how you decide on what's objective and not is in itself subjective. So you get back to that classic idea. So I completely agree
Yeah.
with you.
And I don't like particularly get bogged down by that idea or whatever, because at the end of the
Mm.
day, like, I think it's less about whether I think like the expert badge in general, for example, like it's not changed me any more than I was like yesterday or 1 week ago or 1 month ago. Like the player I am is like based off of like my own play. It's not based off of like the existence of like the expert badge or
Of
not.
course, oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. Definitely more nice to have, I'd say,
Yeah,
than an essential requirement. Uh,
exactly. Like if some people say like, "Oh, I don't have the expert badge, therefore I'm not a good player." Like, okay, like who cares at the end of the day? Like
exactly.
I care if I'm good at the game. So if I think I'm good, then that's all that matters to me personally.
Exactly, and there's always the whole validation thing in terms of whose opinion would you sort of see over the most, and if someone like Xcal says, then chances are it's a pretty good opinion to get. So no, that's good. That's the right attitude to have.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
say so.
Excellent. What would you say is your biggest achievement to date?
Ooh. I mean, I've had some really good milestones. The biggest one, ooh, that'd be kind of tough actually.
Hmm.
Like I guess like beating Xcal in a tournament final was probably my biggest one recently, but
Yep.
like I mean, I've had some various milestones that like were quite insane, like given the context of their time. So like for example,
Hmm.
I remember I think this was back in June or July maybe of last year. I think I got my very first win against an expert in a tournament setting, which was Logica in the Iranian Generals tournament.
Yes, I remember that. Very nice.
That I remember that was a very like sort of hype set that a lot of people were like very shocked about. Like I think people were rooting for me, but like they didn't expect me to win. But like
Hmm.
when I actually won, like I think that was like a massive shock for a lot of people, and I think uh I think that particular tournament result, even though I lost in like the losers final round against Logica again, like I
Yeah.
think that was a very big moment for me in terms of recognizing that hey, maybe I can go a little further with this 2 hour thing. Like that was sort of a wake up call for me
Nice.
in
Yeah.
the sense
In,
that
in a
I could
positive
actually
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent.
And I
Um.
think another placing that I didn't win per se, but I
Hmm.
think that I did pretty like well considering what most people anticipated was I think it was the last World Series actually maybe
Yep.
where I was playing against Shay, and
Hmm.
Shay at the time was recognized as basically the
One.
next
Yeah.
probable
Yeah.
expert
Yeah.
for a lot of people. So the fact that I actually was playing against Shay to such an extent that it pulled it down to like a decider
Hmm.
was very, very impressive for a lot of people.
No, agreed.
I-
No, that's fair.
I'm not sure if it was a decider, but I know it was an extremely close set to the point where like one game was it was basically one game away where both of us were out of the tournament if either of us lost. So I think it was a decider. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say high pressure point. Absolutely,
Mm.
that's excellent. Very good. Like I say, I imagine. I think there's been this sort of debate who would get it, who would get to that point between you and Shay. I think had Shay just not slightly gone off the board, maybe mainly just because he's just not had time. I think in sort of more recent history, which is unfortunate because I think you and him produce or him versus experts. Like in the way you do, you guys always produce very good games. So I think you always want these top players playing as regularly as possible, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and
So
I think if Shay probably stuck around for a little bit more, I could see him like being like expert tier as well.
yeah, yeah, agreed. I think that's probably a fair comment. I think a lot of people probably would agree with that as well.
Hmm.
Okay, no, that's good. So most probably an obvious question and one that I think obviously we have. all sorts of people that will end up watching this interview, or hopefully anyway. But uh, let's just say, for those that are like anywhere from like noob tier to semi tier, or even that low sort of low pro tier, what would you recommend to them to make that sort of next step up, so to speak? What's your one? If you had to give one particular top tip, what would you suggest?
I mean, I think this goes for like almost any sort of sport or any competitive scene in general, but like you need to find like a fine line between like being proficient and like being creative in terms of like
Mm,
how you play your craft. So I think a lot of people get bogged down on like playing as efficiently as possible and playing in such a way where like you have to have 99.99% like APM efficiency or
yeah,
like micro or macro efficiency with how you play the game. And like people think like, oh, losing your first unit, like okay, it's game over from then already. I used to even think like that at one
really,
point, but like
yeah.
I think what I learned over time was that it's not about like because Zero Hour is a very unique game in terms of how it's played out. Like
Hmm.
Zero Hour is the type of game where like you could literally get owned for 30 minutes and you could still win the
Yeah,
game if you
agreed.
just make one good play. And that's usually what I bank off of a lot of the times. Like I could have a terrible start in the game and I could still end up winning just because I make some really phenomenal plays later on in the mid or late game. So like that size game, for example, like
Mm.
I think I don't want to say Size was owning it, but I think Size was definitely ahead in that
For
game, for
sure, yeah. It
example.
was it was a case of, let's just say there was a DC like, I don't know, halfway, even maybe 2/3 through the game. That's the type of thing that if me as a senior referee, I'll probably give it to size. Like that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've had plenty of games in like sets where like I have very shocking like results in terms of like how like someone might think, oh, this game is like game over, like it's
Mm.
not even like a competition, and then suddenly I end up like I don't know, like carpeting like a whole army, or maybe I suddenly or sometimes I'll do something insane like I don't know if you watched this recently, but like in the tourney set where I did beat Excal, there was a game of
Mm.
tank stealth where I outcamped stealth as tank, which is like
Nice.
unheard of. Like
That
that
is.
is
Do you know what? I haven't seen that, and I feel like I now do need to see that. That's ridiculous.
yeah. And like
Great stuff.
those sorts of games, like they don't come off because I'm just playing off of meta. Like if I was playing off of meta, I would spam units into like a stealth base, probably have a chance of losing those units. Maybe I don't. Maybe in like half the games where I do that strategy, I don't end up losing units. But in the other
Mm.
half, where I end up losing units, that suddenly costs me the game because I'm suddenly a tank losing millions of units to like a stealth and giving him veterancy and like general promotions.
Yeah.
So I think those sorts of games they stem off of like creativity, and that creativity essentially gives you insight in terms of like how you're supposed to play out a game, like
Mm.
given these unique circumstances. Like there will be plenty of games where like you might just play your generic matchup where all you have to do is like make technicals or make Humvees or make Gats and
Yeah.
you just funnel them to your opponent's base and like
And
that's
you win.
all done in like
Yeah.
yeah. It's just a matter of like outplaying your opponent at that point and yeah, you will get plenty of games like that. That's
Mm.
perfectly normal. At the same time though, you will get very unique games from time to time
Yeah.
and usually those unique games are the ones that I feel as though define someone's like true creative skill. Like for example, would not like classify doing two supply builds on like Oil Rampage as like very sort of creative because you're not adapting to
Mm.
the map even at that point. You're
Yeah.
not using the map to your advantage. You're just doing what like
You're
the
trained to
cookie cutter
do,
build
right?
is. Yeah, and maybe that'll work sometimes, but like most of the time, I can like assure you, like that's not a good build on Oil Rampage.
Yeah.
Like you have to like adapt accordingly based off of like the map you're playing. Sometimes you have to adapt according to the matchup. Sometimes you'll have to adapt according to the player even.
Agreed.
Some players love playing greedy and they are terrible at like playing on, for example, like offensive builds. So you'll expect a defensive build from them. Some players are the opposite. They'll probably play hyper aggressive, but as a result, it makes them very easily predictable. So if you just defend certain key points and like expand off of that, then you can probably win.
Yeah.
Like that's why, for example, I think a lot of people think Excal is like insanely difficult to play against. I think it's because of the fact that like he's not predictable, in the same sense that like we had the playstyle discussion earlier of like
Mm,
why I think a lot of people might find it annoying to play against me is because, well, I don't have like one set playstyle. The playstyles that I go for are usually ones that are centered around the player I'm playing against in the first place.
yeah.
Like at the end of the day.
So it makes it
So
difficult to analyze you, basically.
yeah, and like usually I find it difficult to actually predict Excal, for example. But I think today was the very first time where I think Excal genuinely felt like he was having a tough time doing
He'd met
his
his
regular
match.
build
Yeah,
orders.
yeah, yeah.
Like his comfort build orders weren't working, which is like I think that's a very big telltale sign of like how I play is very much centered around like how other players play. Because you have to like, it's not even about
Yeah.
analyzing like what your opponents do or whatnot. It's just like knowing what to expect and then just doing what you feel is best based off of what you're expecting. Like I don't know if Xgal's gonna like play his bread and butter play style, but like I know just based off of like experiences with Xgal that there's a good chance he might. So
Yep. No.
it's something to keep in mind.
Very good. Very good. I think no, that's sensible. I think being ultimately so it's fair to say like when it comes back to well, what's the sort of key takeaway? I think being adaptable, I think, is probably a very important point, and like to reach that level, that next level, I think it's
Yeah,
kind of
adaptability
essential,
is
right?
key.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's a good tip. I'm a fan of that, definitely. Um, okay. Right, a couple of slightly quicker questions. So let's just say I'm sure you're aware there was like an iShock Live, like a while ago, back in like November time, where a few people met up. Would
Yeah.
you ever want to go to one of those sort of things in the future, or more importantly, who in real life would you sort of like be keen on meeting in the future?
I mean, in terms for the first part, like probably not just because like I'm kind of a bit restrictive when it comes to like traveling and stuff. Like I
Distance,
don't
yeah.
well, it's not just distance, but like traveling is not exactly like the easiest luxury for me.
No,
And
fair
it's
point.
something that like I have to like be very sort of reserved about, like in terms of like if I want to travel, like I need to think carefully about like why I'm traveling and that sort of thing.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
and in terms of who I'd be interested
If
to
yeah,
meet
so in
in
this
real
in
life.
this point, let's just ignore the hype. So let's just go hypothetical at this point then.
Yeah. So, I mean, Excal would be interesting to meet in real life. I'd also be
Yep,
very interested in meeting the rest of the OOE people, so
for sure.
Vivid and Spalding. Outside of the clan though, I would say, hmm, who would
Tough.
be interesting to
Yes,
meet?
because you think as well like those are kind of like the key guys you've known as well through Zero, so they're naturally going to be the answer. But yeah,
I mean,
there's
like,
always one or two others.
there's quite a few Arab players I think would be interesting to meet. I think meeting Flamiori would be
Yeah,
kind of cool.
definitely.
Um, Meeting Roll would also be kind of cool as well.
The
Um,
Habibis is the word, isn't it?
yeah, the Habibis.
Yeah, very nice.
um, Dummy would be a very interesting one.
Yeah,
Oh, I have a really good one. I would love to at some point meet the like the people behind like the Generous Gentlemen because
yeah, nice,
I think
nice.
like Callum and Blake
Mm.
I think they were partially a very big reason for like what sparked my interest in online zero hours. So like
They
we
were,
can talk
yeah, they were
about
actually the first zero-hour streamers I came across as well. So I think I back that.
that. Like I
Even
don't think I would have nearly the same passion for zero hour for online play that I would if it weren't for those two. So
yeah, I
big
think
shout out
that's
to them.
I think that's that completely fair. And obviously, it goes to show that they've sort of left a fairly important legacy, even though they rarely play these days. Or sorry, if they rarely cast these days. It's you're lucky if you see one. But like nowadays, because life always gets in the way. But Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. That was an important one for me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was splitting my V's here, I think, at this point because demo ambush.
Ah, I
Yeah,
was going to say
I needed it.
not even the nuke migs. No, not the nuke migs. Just the, like there's like the two worst things. They're like these worst nightmares.
I think at this point his airfield was down, and I don't think Excal had much
Good,
money left.
good point.
So that's probably why I was
Oh,
as worried.
there it was. Um,
But I have a second V. Oh, he had one nuke
oh,
mid,
there
but
you
like
go.
I knew he was low cash on. That was the main thing.
There you go. Very good. Um, so what was I going to say? So all right, classic. Let's briefly turn you into Mart Smart. Who give us your top five right now as today as at the point where you've become an expert. What is your top five?
So I'd say number one is either Excal or Vivid, but I'd say at this point in time is probably Excal.
Yep.
Number two is probably Vivid.
Okay.
Number
Yeah.
three, I'd say is Size.
Mhm.
Number four is I'd say like tied between me and Fargo. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I think most days I like when I started playing with Fargo, I was owning a lot to be fair. But like I think just out of fairness, I'll say we're tied.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'd say that was probably a fairly
And number
accurate
five is like
description.
basically either the other one who isn't number four, and then everyone else I think is it's very much a toss up from my perspective. Like I think there
Hmm.
are some people who can pull off phenomenal performances, and
Yep.
then there are some people who can like have like massive upsets in terms of like how they play from their usual.
Okay. So give us a let's be controversial. Give us a six then. If you had to choose
Six?
one, if you had to choose one.
I had to choose one. Mm, I'd say maybe like SPL or
Yeah.
something along those lines. Like I think in terms of like non-expert class experts, like people who have seen people in the expert radar,
Hmm.
like I think SPL is probably the highest player currently
Yeah.
in that list. Because like if we think of like Shay for example, like Shay's very like on a good day Shay is insanely good, but on a
Hmm.
bad day he can like play like pretty poorly at times.
Yeah.
But like
That's fair.
I'd say Shay is like kind of hard to like tier for example even
Hmm.
because I could say Shay is like potentially in top five as well, but
On his
since he's
day.
kind of inactive at the moment, it's not a convincing top five I'd say. Whereas with SPL, I think like he's been like very consistent for
Hmm.
like a very long time. Like SPL is no slouch.
Yeah.
Like whenever I play him or whenever I watch him play, like he can dominate games if he's on his A game on a day. So it's not you can't underestimate SPL. Is all I'm saying.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think no one would, not too many people would necessarily hugely disagree with that. So yeah, that's a good shout. Um, all right, let's do a very quick game of, not really a game. We'll come back to that. But if I was doing word association and, like, for example, Excal Hunt or Fargo Easy, if you had to choose a word for Marakar, what would you choose?
Um, either either creative or annoying. I think both of those work.
I like that. That's good. I'm going to give you creative. I think annoying sounds a bit harsh, even though truth be told, you can be.
Yeah, like I think annoying in the sense of like, as in like a thorn in
That's
someone's like
good. I like that.
back. Like I think that's what I mean by annoying.
Very good. Very good. Um, okay, let's go through a few quick, very specific questions then. So, what's your favorite and least favorite matchups?
Uh, Favorite matchup I wanna say is like probably like any balanced GLA mirror. So
Okay.
like anything where it's like double of the same thing. So like stealth, demo, tox, or GLA.
Or GLA stealth, maybe. I think that's probably a lot, fairly close to being 50-50 as well. You'd probably argue.
But like in general, like I'm a very big fan of mirror matchups.
Nice,
Like
nice.
I think some people hate mirrors, but I love mirrors, like
Oh, that's good.
particularly.
That's good. That's very good. Okay, that's a good choice. And least favorite?
Um, Probably like Nuke Air or like
Mm,
any sort of like Air China game that's not
fine.
tank
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
or
Fair
like
enough.
Inf. I just hate those sorts of games in particular because they're usually pretty
Predictable.
they're very much centered around like all-in-ish builds where like you kind of know what's coming and it's not exactly like the most eventful games that
Hmm.
come out of it. So you kind of know, okay, yeah, if I'm playing like air against like nuke, I'm expecting some sort of like all-in play.
Yeah.
And sometimes I take advantage of that actually. Like sometimes people will like hyper bunker as like the Air Force, so like they'll spam fire bases expecting me to like go extremely aggro, and they'll like rush to a missile, and then I'll do
Hmm.
something ridiculous like going greedy as nuke against air,
Yeah.
and like sometimes it'll work
Yeah.
actually.
And that
This
ultimately
is
comes
what
down
I
to, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that ultimately would come down to player awareness and how good you be your spy drone placement. Because if you get that right, really, even what you've just spoke about shouldn't work, right?
yeah, exactly. Like you can mess up a ton as the Air Force, and you can still probably squeeze away with a win just off
Hmm.
of the fact that like you have way too many bonuses that like help you in your favor.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Favorite map?
Um, Currently I'd say probably oil ramp. Well, if I had
Hmm.
to say like three, like I think it's almost a three-way tie.
Okay. Okay.
I like oil rampage. I like Stonehenge, and I'll throw a map that I kind of really liked recently that I don't think a lot of people know about. It's Highway 99.
Oh
I,
God. Yeah.
it's a very bizarre map, but like I kind of like the sort of the play styles that you end up having to pull off on that map.
Yeah.
Like even in some of the weirder matchups, like China GLA, for example. Like I've had some very interesting China GLA games on that map with Fargo, I
Nice.
remember as of late,
Yeah.
and I've
Nice.
also had a lot of words thrown my way for picking such maps. But yeah,
Yeah, you
I
always
like
get
that map.
that.
Mhm.
uh, very good. Okay, cool. And if you had to choose just one least favorite map,
Least favorite map. Um, hmm. It's kind of a tough question actually, because
it
I
isn't
don't really
easy.
have like because I actually don't really dislike that many maps.
That's a good thing.
I mean, if I had to pick one that like I don't really enjoy that much,
Mm.
maybe I'd say, and like, sorry, like lost here, but like I'd have to say like Bozic, like Bozic
Yeah,
District.
yeah, yeah. No, fair. Yeah, something. Yeah, agreed. That's what about after today? What's your feelings towards Desert Quadrant after today?
I mean, that was funny. That was just a funny map. Like, I
uh,
was thinking about like, cause I can actually say a little bit about why I picked that map. So like in this set,
mm,
Excal lost every nuke mirror but one. I
yeah,
lost every tank mirror, and I think it was like split between the games. One is China Vanilla for him and for me.
yeah.
I was trying to think of one map where like it doesn't matter if he outplays me. Maybe if
Right,
I just some like ridiculously cheeky build, it can work out. And
got it.
I was looking through the map list, and I saw Desert Quadrant, and I'm thinking it's it's such a stupid pick, but like I feel like it actually makes a lot of sense given what I'm looking for, so I just picked it.
Nice. In hindsight, maybe not. Hey, but no, I agree with you.
I don't regret the pick. I think I just did a terrible build order.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
I think Desert Quadrant, I think it's a meme map, but I think it
it
has a
is.
meme map that's like at least you can actually like respect the fact that it is a meme map. With
Very fair.
Bozic, I actually like I genuinely get an aneurysm playing on Bozic, I'll be honest.
Fair. No, yeah. All right. There we are then. Bozic. Bozic is probably a good answer. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Hero won't be very happy with you.
I'm sorry, hero.
Um. Fine. Okay. Right. Where are we? If you had a 2v2, um, who would be your favourite player to team up with if it isn't an OOE member?
Um, I'd say probably. Hmm. I kind of like teaming with Peace Lover.
Nice.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're usually pretty consistent when it comes to communication. So like,
Great
it's
player.
not I don't think I have issues teaming up with Peace Lover. I also like teaming up with or the idea of teaming up with like Flameori. Like
Very
I
yeah,
think
very nice.
both those players, they'd be fun to team up with in the 2v2 setting.
Excellent. No, good choice.
And
Um,
from experts, I think like size. I've had some fun times
hmm,
playing 2v2s with size or not
so,
2v2s,
at a minimum of
like
size, you'll
3v3.
laugh. You'll laugh at a minimum of size. To be honest with you, he's good fun.
Yeah. It
uh,
was fun playing. I think there was one time I played a 2v2 with size, and he was Air Force, and I was getting Aurora's this laser, and I'm like, wait, why do I have an airfield and you don't have one? And I'm like, I don't know.
Brilliant.
It
Classic. That
was
is
like,
yeah, classic. Classic.
it's funny. I remember that.
Um, fine. Okay. What was I going to say? All right. And another scenario. So you're playing in 3v3, and you have to choose a pro to be on your team and a semi to be on your team. Which pro and semi do you choose?
Pro, I'd probably pick like
You can give the
I'd
same
say
answer as well, by the way.
yeah. I'm thinking about like who I'd pick.
Mm,
Um, I mean, Peace Lover is good. I think Reznov is also a nice option. Like
yeah.
I played with Reznov once. I actually liked playing with him as well. So
I have played with him as well. He's great fun.
Reznov or Peace Lover for like the pro and for the semi, like I'm thinking semi in terms of 1v1
Yeah.
standards,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like
That's fair.
I wouldn't mind playing with like Choke, maybe Habash. Like
I see you're cheating here because you're going for a player that's 1v1 semi, but actually a really good team player. And I
yeah,
think
I know exactly.
that's
If we're
that's
going
cheeky.
if we're going with actual like people who aren't like super pro,
Hmm.
um,
It gets
hmm,
tougher. It does get tougher. Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to think. I don't know honestly. Like I need I need names to like look at
Yeah,
to
no, no,
think
no,
of an
fair,
idea.
that's fair enough. We can skip over that. I think there's like say there's a it's a pretty big list these days. uh,
Yeah, but like
um,
yeah, I mean, like the general answer for me is probably as long as like you're good at communication, like I
yeah,
probably don't have an issue.
no,
And like as long as you have a cool and collected head, because I think the worst thing you can have in a team game is like someone who's very
panics.
heated up like
Hmm.
constantly and unable to like focus on the game because of like getting worked up.
You'd hate to play with Call Me Sam then. He's a nightmare. He gets so worked up, it cracks me up. He'll hate me for saying that as well.
Uh,
Nice. Okay, no, that's good. And where was I? 1 second. Cool. Got this list. Where are we? That's funny. So, obviously, what am I going to say here? Let's just say you could play against one old expert. Which one would you like in their prime? Which one would you choose?
Probably Caro or Google.
Nice.
I think
Yeah.
I think either of those would be pretty epic to play against.
Great.
Because I
Great
think
choice.
Caro, I've seen some insane like replays
Hmm.
casted where he's featured in them, and Google is almost like described as like a sort of like monolith among like the Arab players, because like he's on and off, but like when he comes with like a storm
Yeah.
is the best way to describe him.
Yeah. No, that's very nice. I like that. Um. What? Oh, there we go. That was the Victoria screen. That's some game, by the way.
Yeah, this was the
Very nice.
onslaught to say the least.
Um. Okay, so let's see. Getting towards the end actually of the question is What would you say the most annoying aspect of Zero Hour is? And just to give an example, some examples: drama within the community, lag, balancing. Those sort of things.
When you say balancing, do you mean in terms of players or
As
in terms of like
balance
game?
in terms of the game itself.
I mean, I'll actually get back to that like in a second, but
Hmm.
I think to answer your first question, like I think uh, I think the drama is kind of an annoying aspect for me at times because it's
Yeah.
like I'm someone who particularly doesn't enjoy his fair share of drama in general,
Mm.
and I'm playing the game for the sake of playing the game. I'm not playing the game for the sake of having online wars with people. Like,
Agreed.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seems very dry to like fight over like a game and that sort of thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
in terms of flaming, I think there's a fine line between like flaming someone as sort of like out of sport spirit. So like you know how like in some sports, I'll give like wrestling for example, they might flame each other like as a intimidation tactic or
Yeah.
something like. I think there's some merit to that, but like I think at times it can get annoying if it's overdone, and there are definitely times where I've seen it get forced and seen it get overdone,
Mm.
and like it's something that I don't particularly enjoy engaging in particular. So, yeah, I'd say flaming is something that annoys me in particular.
Yeah,
In
that's
terms
fair
of
answer.
balancing, I think this is just going back off of what I was saying earlier. Like, it really does come down to like the flexibility that you're given with the tools of a matchup. So like
Yeah.
tools being like the leeway you have against the player, the map you're working
The
with,
map. Mm.
the sort of the nature of the matchup you're playing, whether you have to like whether you can just like outgrow your opponent in terms of money and like just spam them through sheer force, or like whether you're kind of pressured to like end the game in a specific time frame. Otherwise, the game might get very difficult
Yeah.
like later on. I think balance isn't actually the biggest issue I think Zero Hour has, and I think that's a very interesting. I think that might be a little controversial for me to say, but
Mm.
I think like if we were in a situation where we'd have to think about like a, a final balance patch for Zero Hour,
Yeah.
I don't think that list would be as long as most people would think.
Mm. I think I
Is
agree. I
what
think
I
I
think.
agree with you, especially with the more modern maps that sort of come out. I think I'm completely on board with that.
Yeah.
Which actually probably ties in nicely with the concept of 1.04 plus, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I think the whole concept of that is just essentially tying up some very specific loose ends and just amplifying certain faction characteristics
Yeah.
to where there's a clear distinction between certain factions. Like China, I think is super spammy in 1.4 plus
Mm.
compared to like 1.4.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because I think in the most one of the more recent patches that was out on that, if you're infantry and you know you've got a minigunner, for example, when that minigunner shoots at air units, as you know, it makes a different sound, right?
Hmm.
But in 1.04 plus, the most recent patch, they changed it so that it makes the same sound as the shooting on the ground, or which, by the way, I absolutely hate because it's like I mean I had an interesting chat with Zezon about this. He says, "Oh, it's just because I'm used to years of it." Now, there might be some truth to that, but I personally think that some bugs actually have very good consequences. Like, for example, you know that your IA units are getting shooted at when you hear that sound, and I think that's good information. So here's a
Yeah,
question
like
for you: what do you think of that particular example?
I think in that particular case, I'd rather have the old sound because I kind
Mm.
of think of it as like a almost like a sound cue
Yeah.
that like you can tell like an area unit's getting hit. Like I won't say I agree with everything in 1.04 plus, but I'd say there's a lot of good changes that have come out of it that I think a lot of they're very nice changes in terms
Yeah.
of like what they're going for. And I would not mind like a future where we do eventually transition to 1.04 plus if that does happen, for example.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to like dispute like a couple things, but
Mm.
otherwise I'm pretty content with that patch in
Excellent. I think yeah.
particular.
I think our views are pretty much nicely aligned there. That's good to hear. Very good.
Mhm.
Cool. So let's see. Final sort of question before a quick fire thing. Reckon anything might lure you away from Zero, or do, you get a loyalty test here?
I mean, if I get busy with life, if I get enveloped with like work or
Of course,
something, like I think that's probably the thing that would take me from Zero Hour
that's
mainly.
the
Like,
best. That's the best answer, by the way.
yeah, like, I mean, I treat this game as a hobby, so
Mm,
it's not like it's like if something was to take me away, it'd have to be either I stopped enjoying the game, which, to
sure.
be honest, I'm not seeing that anytime soon, or like something comes up in like work, or like maybe I just get a really busy schedule.
Mm,
Like those are probably the only factors I could see myself really like taking a break from Zero Hour and stuff.
Music to our
which
ears, mate. Music to our ears. That's good to hear. And lastly, so are you looking forward to? And obviously, this assumes nothing crazy happens between now and then. But October, we'll have the World Series. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think this will be the very first time I'm like aiming to like win the World Series as
Yeah,
well this time around. So like last time I played, I was just trying to see how far I could get, but this time I'm actually gonna try and win it.
fantastic. That is it. That's what we like to hear. Very good. Okay, nice. Right, just a couple of more things. Just sort of a little fun stuff section that I've got down. Only very brief. Coming back to the word association. If I say, I'm going to say a couple of words, and I want you to name the first player that comes to mind. Now, I was hoping to have a much bigger list, but unfortunately, I was out of time because I was actually working today. Believe it or not. So, all right, lag.
Um, lag. Facey.
I was going to go with lift truck myself.
Oh.
um, nutter, as in like just crazy, bit of a nutter.
Now.
That's a good answer. I love that. Streamer,
Dominator.
sponsor,
AKA Baloney.
absolutely. Holy moly. I appreciate that's not one word.
Dominator.
You're gonna go with Domi. I would have gone with Excal there myself.
I've heard Domi say
Have
holy
you,
moly.
have you,
quite a few
yeah,
times.
that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe that's where Excal got it from. Unethical.
Unethical. Excal.
You know where he got that from, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. It's fun times. Criticize.
Ooh. That's a tough one because there's multiple answers for that one.
Yeah,
Recent times probably Fargo.
nice, nice, nice. Map hack.
Um, I was gonna say Rengo, but like due to recent events, probably um. Well, this person isn't a map hacker, but like they got smurfed as a map hacker essentially.
Yeah.
Copy Sam.
Well, that was funnily enough the answer that you that you were going for because I actually still have this replay. Funnily enough.
Oh yeah, this is the map hacker play.
Yeah.
This isn't Call Me Sam for your viewers watching, by the way. This is someone who smurfed as him.
And poor Sam's he's still taking shit for that to this day.
Yeah.
Bless
Yeah,
him.
I learned from gentle digging from various
Yeah.
sources that this wasn't Call Me Sam. This was someone smurfing as him.
It was funny because Scuba's normally really. I think it was Scuba that sort of looking at some of the stuff, and I think at one point when he said, "Oh no, it is him," I thought, well, that means I think I first believed him because he's normally really on point when it comes to, researching that type of stuff. So for once, he actually wasn't precise with it. I was like, oh right, okay.
He
And
was dead on. That was map hack though.
he
He was dead on.
100%. There was that much was clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the only way it made it possible to even do what he does, which we'll see in a second.
Mhm.
And
You have to go on his perspective to see the message, by the way, from the tank's perspective.
nah, that wasn't even what I was going for. I was just going to keep your
Perspective.
thing on. Yeah, just because it's just funny to watch. Well, not funny at the time, but in retrospect, in hindsight.
This is like very goofy because I literally was saying like range bug abuse, and the response I got was just a question mark.
Yeah, classic.
like the guy was like feigning ignorance or whatever you say.
A couple more words. Let's see. What if I said Middle East player or Middle East or Arab, whatever you might want to say.
Peace lover.
Peace lover, okay. And then UK.
I'm gonna go with Dominator again actually because I don't know why, but like Dominator, when I think of UK, like he really sticks out with the UK like accent more than Excal. Yeah, this is what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
ridiculous, isn't it?
This is so funny.
So that was going to be my question actually. Who's got the most British accent?
Who's got the most British accent?
Controversial, isn't it?
I mean, I think Oh yeah, I think the V gets sniped behind this power
It
plant
does.
as
I was
well.
going to say it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, British accents, like, when I think of a British accent, I think of someone who has like a very thick accent. So
Hmm.
it's probably it's between Excal and Dummy, but I think I'd have to say Dummy. I
Fair
don't
enough.
know why, but like his accent just sticks out harder
Yeah.
compared. Yeah, this is what I was
I actually thought I was gonna win. To be honest with you.
thinking.
uh,
I mean, you have quite a strong accent as
it's
well.
yeah,
You are.
I get it quite a lot, but no, in fairness, I think you're probably right. I think it's probably I think always between Xscout and Dommy and maybe myself, but I can't really hear myself, so I don't really you wouldn't really count. You'd never count yourself in that
I mean,
situation.
I'd say you're British, but I wouldn't say you have like a thick British accent in
Hmm.
the same way like Dommy has, for
Yeah,
example.
being let
Which
down
is
by the
why I'm giving
southernness.
it to
That's what it
Dommy.
is. Yeah.
Mm.
You should hear Hawkeye one day. That'll change your mind, I'm sure.
Uh, Fair enough.
Okay, just a quick game of X or Y, which is, so basically I'm going to give you two options, or two player options, and for each one, you have to say who you'd prefer to go to dinner with, and which one would win a game of 0 Hour. Okay?
Who I would go to dinner with?
Right, so yeah, no, yeah, which one would you rather go to dinner with, and which one, not in a gay way, or which, and which one would you think would win a game of 0, like, a game or a set of 0 Hour, most likely?
Okay, sure.
Right. Dommy or Fargo?
Uh, I'd go to dinner with Dommy. I'd beat Fargo in a game of 0 Hour.
Oh, as in who would win out of those two? I meant.
Oh, who would win out
Mm.
of those two?
Yeah.
Probably Fargo.
Yeah.
Probably Fargo.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Logica or Boyka?
Logica.
For both.
Hmm?
For both. Dinner winner. Remember.
Oh, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
you get it. You
So,
got it every
who,
single.
who?
Yeah. So each one now.
Okay, so I'd go to dinner with Dommy. I'd
No, as in, but
expect Fargo to win.
right. Dommy dinner Fargo to win, and then Logica Boyka.
Um, Logica to win,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd say Logica with dinner as well.
Yeah, very nice. Poor Boyka.
Oh.
Very nice. Excal or Spalding?
Um, Excal to win, and I'd also say Excal to dinner.
Nice. That's a tough. I thought that'd be a tough one actually. The dinner one in particular.
Yeah, it
Um,
is a tough one.
yeah, it's a tough one.
I'll admit that.
Anti-pro or nickname?
Um,
I won't be insulted if you choose nickname. Honestly.
Anti-pro to win.
Yeah, you got that one right.
Yeah. Um, Anti-pro to dinner as well. Yeah.
Hey, lucky me. Sorry, nickname. It'll be well, Joe. Uh, Role or peace lover?
Uh, Peace lover to win, peace lover to dinner.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Poor. Yeah, very good. Madara or Hassan?
Um, Hassan to win, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, Hassan to dinner as well.
Nice. Yeah. I was hoping to go for two female players. Unfortunately, we only have one, so I've written here Queen Muff or a rabbit. That's all I could come up with.
Um, so I'd go with a rabbit to win.
Right answer. What would you be more insulted with? The rabbit to win or rabbit to dinner? There's the question.
I think she'd be insulted by both.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, that's fun. It's brilliant. Okay, and one more. Seresdi or Rafe?
Hmm. Wraith to win, Cyrus D to dinner.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah, that's a fun one. Okay. Right, just a couple more then. A couple more X or Y, and this is nice and simple. Just choose an army. It's really 2 second thing. So out of the two armies, China or SWG?
China.
USA or GLA?
Jedi.
Tank or stealth?
Stealth.
Nuke or tox?
Tox.
Tox or demo?
Demo.
Stealth or GLA?
Stealth.
Nice. And finally, Inf or GLA?
Inf.
Excellent. Very good. All right. I've got one final tiny little teaser sort of fun question for you. So here's a random one, and you'll no doubt or hopefully you know what I mean when I say present value. So what I mean as in, let's just say you put down £1,000 a year for the next 5 years. How much would you need to put in today to get £5,000 in 5 years' time, right? And the present value might be say £4,500, right? What I'm going to ask you is, what is the present value if someone was to come to you now and say, right, I want to buy your 0-hour skills off you so that I can win some money, right? Like literally, you give away a certain amount of money for becoming a noob at 0-hour, basically, right? What would that value be? There's a question for you.
I could give a cliche answer and say no value, but
I love it.
I'll give an arbitrary value.
Even
just for the
better.
sake of
Even better. That's a great answer.
it. I'll say. I think to be fair, I'll say like 5,000.
Yeah, fair. That seems a fair figure. Yeah, no, I like it. Very good. All right. Now, well, that is pretty much the end. The final little thing. Any special mentions that you would like to make at this stage?
Yeah, sure. So, like to thank the sort of 0-hour community for sort of upholding the game to like this current day, even though like it's a game that spans back as far as like 2005, 2004. So I think big shout outs to the community for keeping the game alive, whether it's the modded community, the 0-hour community, or like people who like these sorts of different communities that we don't sort of talk about on the daily. So like from the English perspective, like maybe we don't talk about the Russian community, for example, a lot, but like they do their part in terms of like
Absolutely.
absolutely keeping the game alive and
Agreed.
stuff. So big shout outs to them. Big shout outs to my brother in particular, because I think my brother was the catalyst that got me into 0-hour in my childhood in the first place. So
very nice. Is he a known player?
No. He just does this thing like with nice. AI skirmish and stuff. Like we used to be like just have fun with skirmishes and like play against the AI.
That's a very good mention. I'm a fan of that.
So very proud of my brother for showing me this game, and like eventually he actually watches me every now and then play 0-hour, and it's fun nice. When he comments on it. Like he'll text me about it. I guess in terms of like specific people, big shout outs to like Excal, to Balding, Legionnaire, General's Gentleman, Dominator, from a couple people in the modding community. I'd say like shout outs to like USA Brews, Hanfield. There's a couple devs from the modding community, so like the Hunter, DCE, and Predator. They're all great devs who've like created some fantastic mods for 0-hour. So like, be sure to like check those out on like ModDB and the sort of the various mod sections. And just a final shout out, I guess, to like you, Antipro, for organizing this interview.
Oh, thank you very much. It was honestly been my pleasure, mate. It's been, I must say, really, really good. And obviously, thank you very, very much for your time. And I'm sure everyone will, enjoy listening to this. And with a bit of luck, they don't have to listen too much to me blithering on, because let's face it, we want to hear from the man of the moment, which is yourself, which is awesome. So final congratulations, obviously, again for becoming 0-hour's latest expert. And yeah, mate, honestly, thank you so much for giving us the time. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, and thank you for organizing this. I appreciate this, Antipro.
Absolute pleasure. I will. Right, yeah, no, awesome. I'll, fingers crossed. So no doubt we'll get some awesome feedback on this. I think people will enjoy it, mate. All right, I am probably going to go, believe it or not, this is no huge surprise, and I promised Excal I wouldn't say this at any point in the stream, but I've given up. I am a hungry boy, so it's time for dinner for me. Classic. I should have said food in the word association, it would have been anti, let's face it.
Mm.
Right, no, I really appreciate your time, mate, and all the best. Congrats again on being becoming our latest expert, and going forwards. Obviously, good luck with everything in terms of future games, and yeah, World Series. Let's see if it's America gets the title. Look forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Auntie, for setting this up. Is the recording done, or are you still recording?
Oh yeah, I'm still recording.
Yeah.
I was gonna do a thing. I was literally gonna do the classic, yeah, hang up and then end pretty much straight after. To be fair.
Okay, okay.
uh,
All right.
right, mate.
I shall
Pleasure,
let
yeah.
you. Take care, man.
And
Have a
you
good one.
take care. Great interview. See you later, man.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Alright, there was Marakar, everyone. Hope you have enjoyed the interview. As I've already mentioned, I'm hungry time, so time for me to get going, and you don't want to hear me blabbering on anyway. So yeah, what final thing? Congratulations, obviously, to Mara, our latest expert. Be very interesting to see how he gets on, certainly over the next few months, and especially when we approach October time, when we will see the 2022 edition of the World Series. So yeah, from me, from everyone else from Game Replays, hope you all enjoy. GG's well played, and we will see you all very soon.